Surprise, surprise, gang. Season 4 Reloaded not only brought a huge weapon overhaul, but brand new ground loot. About half the current roster was replaced with new weapons, and we are going to go into those weapons today, as well as my early thoughts on how the weapon overhaul will affect both new and existing ground loot from this season. The spreadsheet has been updated, and you know we'll be getting a tier list out shortly. With the general overall buff we've seen to ground loot this season, interest in ground loot has definitely grown, and it's easily been the most traction this channel has seen, so thank you all for the support. We crushed our goals from the last attachment video, and we're hoping for a strong finish to this season. 400 by the end. Let's get to it. Alright, starting with the PPsH. Replaces the Milano as the common SMG floor loot, which got a huge nerf. It's about mid-pack TTK wise post the weapon balancing, and has a 33 millisecond open bolt delay. A solid weapon, but not overpowering as it was after its first buff. Rare and up have 71 rounds, which is great. I'm a big believer, especially for squads, in the advantage of a large mag size at the drop, since people are usually hyper aggressive in following up a down teammate, and we'll just assume your gun has a small clip size. Last words, the legendary version has a task force barrel, whereas the epic does not, so range will be better with the legendary. Raven is starting to follow this pattern of making the legendaries the one with the best barrel, and I think this is best. To be honest, the ground loot was a bit too fire in my opinion, and so if the general direction is to lower TTK across the board, ground loot TTK should be lowered as well, and only legendary should have that max range capability. Last words is S tier for me. Epic, low S, high A, depending on how things shape out. Rare, A tier. Uncommon and common versions, B tier. The MP5 has been replaced by the MAC-10, which is a good choice in my opinion. Both the PPsH and MAC-10 will be lower TTK wise than the Milano and MP5 were at the start of the season. MAC-10, pretty competitive base TTK after the weapon balancing, does have a 50 millisecond open bolt delay. Rare and up have the Stanag 53 round drum. This gives you some leeway if you miss some of your shots. The legendary has the task force barrel, whereas the epic does not. Legendary epic S tier, the rare A tier. Uncommon, I might take a PPsH over it for slightly better consistency, but it's also B tier. KSP 45, it's the same as the start of the season, except Raven thought it'd be fun to change the legendary blueprints but keep the same attachments, and this is the case for most of the returning weapons. There's just a name change for the legendary version. For the KSP, the legendary is now called the Kintech Burst, but it has the same attachments that the ancient Scarab had in the past. Like all burst weapons, you need to be highly accurate for it to really shine, and that's even harder when you're up close. Didn't catch any changes during the weapon balancing, so it's still C tier for me. AK-74U. Likewise, just a legendary blueprint change. It goes by the name Street Legal. Don't ask. After the balancing, it sits about mid-tier TTK wise, but hitting one headshot does bring it up into a higher tier of TTK. Does suffer from having a low mag capacity, which is big for me. They're A tier, but might be a choice for those of you who want a skill-based edge. The Bullfrog. The Bullfrog caught further nerfs and sits towards the back TTK wise. Still skill based though. One headshot will bring its TTK into the upper half. Still love that it has a very large mag capacity. Suppression and that mag and the one headshot boost keeps it in low S tier for me. C58. C58 has been a monster of a gun this season, but it did not escape the weapon balancing. TTK wise, it's mid-pack, but one headshot can boost it up into the upper third. Its calling card is long range accuracy, and it seems to be just as accurate at range. In the past, Tequila was never the TTK king, but dominated because it was just so easy to hit shots at range. Also, we've learned the 4X on the C58 does improve recoil, and this explains why it felt so good. Legendary is still S tier for me, epic A tier, rare B, and for the uncommon common versions, it does really suffer from not having an optic, so I don't really use them. They're C tier. QBZ, a gun that got buffed. If the ground loot versions had scopes, They might be S tier, but they don't, and they don't have large mag capacity. QBZ now decent in all ranges, and it's not an afterthought anymore. Combined with great recoil, this could really be like the Kilo when it was a ground loot. For the Legendary Epic, I can't put it in S tier due to its low mag, so they're A, but I think the rare and uncommon versions are where we're going to see the QBZ do a lot of work. Just really accurate, and now its TTK is decent, both close and long. So I'll be giving it some run. I'll say high B for now for those the uncommon rare versions, but I think it's going to be a really good uncommon option. Krig 6. Krig was already rising. It did get a slight buff damage wise and is now poised to possibly break into the meta. Again, just a name change for the legendary, with the beach vibes floating away for a more regal attire. The Victorian Age is easy S tier and could push for the best non-sniper ground loot position. Epic A tier, again, just the mag being low, and then the rare is high B, low A, depending on how things shape out. Groza got nerfed and quote-unquote buffed. Damage decreased, but range recoil supposedly improved. As you'll see from my testing of the legendary version, the Grizzly Blossom, it doesn't look like the recoil pattern changed that much. I did only do one test, so I could be wrong, but for now it doesn't seem any more controllable than it was. TTK has fallen into the back half, but does get a 1 headshot boost. But the gun's pretty hard to control, so hitting headshots is very skill based. 45 round mag does help, but neither version is suppressed, so it's low A, high B for me. Certainly skill based to get the most out of it. The XM4, which also is a nerf victim, does replace the Farah. It does sit mid tier TTK wise at range, and in the back half up close it does have that 1 headshot boost. Neither version is scoped, but they do have a solid mag size of 45 rounds. Both are suppressed with the Ranger barrel. So they're both solid all-around options. I'm gonna say probably high A tier, maybe low S. AK-47. So the Fafar is out and the AK-47's in, and I'm all for it. Legendary has an RPK barrel, whereas the Epic does not. The Legendary is better for range control, both 45 rounds and suppressed. TTK wise, mid tier for close and long, and it does need 2 headshots for that TTK jump. Definitely skill based given the need for headshot, and it's not the easiest to control, as we know. I'm saying legendary S tier, Epic low S, high A. It's really a gun that needs to be used, and we need to see how it plays out in game. RPD, I was really starting to find my groove with the MG82. It was really great as a counter to aggressive teams, putting out 100 rounds at 930 RPMs. But yeah, the RPD's back, yay. That's basically the RPD. Nothing flashy, super solid, and despite all the bouncing, it's still mid-tier TTK and slow up close. But it's got 75 rounds, and as I've said, I really love high mag guns early on. Position yourself well. It's really easy to counter 1-2 people pushing you with it. Barrel-wise, it has the RPK barrel, and this is not a good RPK. It's just for vehicle damage. Given that the gun was not scoped, you probably wouldn't push it beyond 60-70 meters anyways. Legendary Epic, A tier, because it doesn't have that long range capabilities. Rare and uncommon, high B, but again, a great uncommon option. Stoner, back. It's got a new legendary version, the Big Smoke, which is a very appropriate name for a gun named the Stoner, but now it might be the time for the Stoner to take flight. Its TTK has always been competitive, and this is still the case despite a slight nerf, given how many guns have now risen in TTK. I've just always kind of favored the sniper rifles or the Farah C58, and it's been a couple seasons since I really used the Stoner other than the uncommon version. So we'll see. There's still S tier, the legendary Epic versions, a rare low A, and the uncommon high B. So we'll see. We'll see where if I put it to use. The DMR, I'd be lying if I said I used it much this season. I did have one kill that made me kind of reconsider my position on it. Like, is the DMR good? I keep saying this, but it all depends on how controllable those follow-up shots are, and we know that the barrel is not great on the floor loot versions. I wouldn't push it beyond 60-70 meters until I can really sense it's capable. So I'm gonna put the legendary epic low A, and we'll see the rare B, uncommon, common I don't touch. It's like the first gun I see, and we're talking 1911 or this, so just it really needs a scope. Oh, the Aztec Assassin is back, and it's looking better than ever, because it's just the same build again as the Jewel Thief was. Y'all know I'm not a huge burst fan, but we'll see if burst weapons can push itself back into the meta given the higher average TTK. I'll respect that both AUGs are suppressed and have decent mag given that it's burst weapon, and TTK has definitely helped if you are going against a two-plated enemy. It's just hard to control that. So I'm putting it low A right next to the DMRs, but we see the TAC rifles could rise. M16 subs in for the Car V. Neither versions are suppressed nor scoped. This is I think huge issue for a burst weapon. Barrel's okay. I didn't use the ground loot M16s from last season, and neither will I probably this season. Just lack of scope really hampers accuracy and range that you need for a burst weapon. They're C tier for me. M82, hello old friend, you look different. The M82 replaces the RG. It's hard for me to look at an M82 and not feel sad given how they destroyed the fire rate. Don't at me about how it's double than the others. If you use this thing in its prime, you could stand in the line of fire and just overwhelm another sniper with bullets. I'd much rather use a Swiss right now and just reset or pop from cover than stand in there with an M82 right now. It's just not fast enough. End of story, Raven. Please fix this. All things considered, the M82 is still super accurate, has great bullet drop, 7 rounds is nice, and it has 2-shot down capability. It's gonna be a really good grounded sniper, and I will definitely use it. Legendary Epic, S tier, behind the Swiss, but I think in line with the Tundra. It's gonna be like a preference thing. The Epic, A tier, the Tundra. I've definitely been like using this, holding on to it, and just going straight to my sniper support weapon. One big knock is it does take 3 shots to down, which does hamper it if you don't hit your headshot. The legendary is now the Cursed Bullion. It's back. Just don't have flashbacks to season 1. This isn't your daddy's Cursed Bullion. It's the same attachments as the disarmament, so it's really good. S tier, but like I said, I think it's going to be behind the M82 due to the M82 having 2-shot down and the better bullet drop. Swiss meta build, still all hail the Roman standard, except we have this thing right now where, if you didn't see it, JGod posted on Twitter that the reticle is off center for the Roman standard blueprint. Hopefully I can find a Roman standard and test it, but if you really want to be careful for now, you should probably avoid it on the ground until further notice. They did change the reticle to the ZRG reticle. I like it better than the chevron, especially the black chevron. So we'll see, but I'm really liking the new reticle. It's number 1. The Epic is number 1. When the Roman gets fixed, or if it's not broken for the grounded version, it's also number 1. These 2 versions. So good. The Diamante is out. The amp is in. In my preseason predictions, I thought this would be the common pistol because they try to push new weapons. So I was eventually right, just half a season late. The amp has very competitive close range TTK. The problem is most of them only have 15 bullets. The legendary has 20. So this one's hard to rank. Early on, you'll probably get some eye-opening downs, but it's not a gun you're gonna hold on for too long. I'm gonna say the legendary high B because they're all definitely the definition of a down one. You literally can't do much more. You might not even have enough bullets to finish them off. So high B for legendary, epic to uncommon, low B. We'll see how this one plays out. 1911, I'm just gonna say I miss the X16 number of times, the 8 bullets. I just expect not to get it down with the 8 bullets. I expect that I'm gonna have to reload and re-engage. I guess that's not the worst thing, but I just wish I had an X16 and could, if I was super accurate, get the down because I'm just kind of tired of not being able to kill people with my pistol at the start. They're all D tier, they're all 1911 or this, and that's that. Shotguns, still no love for shotguns. This meta could be ripe for some shoddy action. With TTKs going up, this means that there's just more leeway to get closer with the shotgun. Unfortunately, right now, my love for sniping supersedes my love for shotgun, so it's kind of hard to run a sniper shotgun. But we'll see. I'm thinking about running a Bruin with a shotgun. And yeah, the Hauer remains eternal. I don't know when we're ever going to get more ground loot shotguns. I'm praying one day, but for now, we're with the Hauer. It's C tier. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. It does give me a bit more work to do, but does give us some more content and more ground loot fun to dive into and discuss. Thank you all again for the overwhelming encouragement and love. Hope this channel continues to provide something different and enjoyable for the Warzone community. Tier list incoming this week. Till then, see you all later, gang. Oh, baby! Oh, crap.